We question our daily position, seeking answers and definitions. Get the queries off your chest with Ahkam SOS.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Welcome to Ahkam SOS, the show that discusses Islamic duties and practices. Now, this is a live show. We do take in your questions. If you have any question you'd like to ask, please send it in via the WhatsApp number, the email address. If you're watching on Facebook or on YouTube, put your questions in the comments. Inshallah, the team behind me will be able to send me forward the questions. And also, you can give us a call 0203 515 0199. And myself and the Sheikh will be able to take your question and inshallah discuss and answer it. I'm your host, Mohsin Shah, and joining me is Sheikh Ali Ma'ar. Assalamu alaikum, Sheikhna.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah.
How are you this evening?
Alhamdulillah.
MashaAllah. Sheikhna, I was mentioning sending your questions via WhatsApp and email and so forth. A lot of our Maraja offices officially, they also take in WhatsApps and emails and so forth, telephone calls, and we get replies. Can we rely on these replies that we obtain via the telephone and via the email and so forth from these offices in terms of the fatwa of the Maraja? Can we take it and accept from emails and from telephone calls?
Inshallah. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen wa sallallahu ala Muhammadin wa alihi al-tayyibin al-tahirin wa la'natullahi ala a'da'ihim ajma'in. Yes, indeed, if one can be assured that these methods and platforms are related to the office of the marjaria, the specific marja', and you can be assured that these fatwa are coming out from this office, then of course you can take the fatwa from such platforms in social media, YouTube, emails, WhatsApp, and so forth, internet pages, Facebook, and so forth. You can, but you have to make sure that you do not rely on personal, let's say, Facebook pages. Sometimes some people would write the question and the answer without referring back to the link or the office. Sometimes you have to make sure that this answer is accurate and it's from the office of the marja and not from someone's opinion, for example.
Yes.
So yeah, we can trust in overall these pages and contacts of the office of the maraja.
Excellent. Sheikhna, if one doesn't know the hukam or the taklif and isn't sure on a specific ruling, what does he or she do in that situation?
Well, he or she should refrain from the acting upon what is being seen, and witnessed for, and wait to get a response from the marja', the office or the rep of the marja', to get the right answer from the one who knows the answer, for example. And wait, let's say if somebody finds a bag full of money or jewelry, for example, or gold and silver and so forth, what should I do with it? So you have to wait, call the office of the marja' to see what can this be done. You can't just give it back to someone or to the police, for example, unless you have, for example, the permission, the Shari'i permission to deal with it, because now you're in charge of this found item. What can you do with it, for example? So there are ahkam with this regard. So you have to wait, ask, and then, according to the Shari'i rulings, you can basically act upon it. Or you can do ihtiyat if you want to discharge this. Ala kulli hal, the duty is to do ihtiyat.
Okay.
So let's say someone brings you a burger, and the one who brought you the burger wasn't a Muslim person.
Okay,
but
or maybe not familiar with the halal.
He would say this is halal.
Uh-huh.
Can you trust the word of a non-Muslim? If he said this is halal, for example, and so forth. You have to wait, ask before you actually act upon it.
Okay, excellent. Shaykh, a question from one of our viewers, and that is, does the authority of the faqih, the walaya of the faqih, does that continue after their death?
the authority of the wilaya of the faqih would not continue after his death. It will end by his death. So now you have to look for another scholar or marja', a living one who has the authority over you in terms of the ahkam and so forth, in terms of issuing fatawa. So you have to find somebody who's alive. According to my opinions, he must be the most knowledgeable, a'lam, for example, to find the a'lam and follow his opinions and fatawa.
Shaykhna, a non-believer or a kitabi or a non-kitabi, is it incumbent upon us to prevent them from entering the mosque, especially when they want to come and learn and research and investigate our religion?
Well, one should try to guide them through other means. I mean, nowadays even Muslims, due to this pandemic, they are not even able to attend the mosques, for example, and they had to observe, the prayers or ad'iyah and so forth through other means, online, for example, lectures and so forth. So you can teach them without making them to come and visit the mosque. With all types of technology that we have, the virtual reality, for example, to see inside of the mosque. Because this is the hukum of Islam. This is something that we have to respect and appreciate, that every single religion and state and government have and has their own rulings. We can't just step on it and violate it. There are some governmental buildings you're not allowed to go inside it.
Yes.
You're not allowed, for example, without their permission or in somehow. So the mosques also have their own hukum that they cannot enter. And even some Muslims are not allowed to enter into these mosques. How? When a man, he's in state of janabah, impurity, he's not allowed to enter into the mosque.
That's true.
So not only non-Muslims, even the Muslims in some situations are not allowed to enter into the mosques. And such like for the woman, let's say a Muslim woman who is in her monthly cycle, she's not allowed to enter into the mosque.
Correct.
And remain there and stay there. So this applies to both Muslims and non-Muslims, but each have their own hukum and rulings. So we have to respect these rulings and ahkam as we respect the law of the land, the law of governments in which they apply it on the people, in terms of not being allowed to visit some of the, let's say, buildings and so forth. So yes, we have to try to deliver the teachings through other means, books, online resources, for example. You can visit them if you can. You go to their, let's say, schools or institutes and so forth, visit them and talk to them, rather than they come to the mosque, for example. Unless it's a Islamic center, it's not a mosque. They're welcome to come and sit down and debate and so forth.
Excellent. Shaykhna, according to His Eminence, the Grand Ayatollah Sayyid Sa'id Hakim, is it permissible for one to conceal his age to a group of people, even if his life is not in danger? Is this considered lying?
Yes, it is permissible for the one to conceal his age. I mean, you're not obliged or forced to say your age. Especially for the ladies. They want to basically have their age to be concealed.
Yes.
In some time, and most of the time, to look younger, for example. Ala kulli hal. So because lying is actually giving false information. And in some cases, you have to give your age. Let's say somebody comes to you proposing, for example, for marriage, and they ask specifically for the age. So if you want to lie, then that's not allowed, and it's prohibited. So you have to tell them the truth about your age, for example, because they're looking for, let's say, they're looking for someone who is in his 20s and you're in your 30s. You can't say I'm in my 20s, for example. So you have to be honest with this situation. So yes, lying is not allowed, but you're allowed to conceal your age.
I see. Sheikhna, according to his eminence, the Grand Ayatollah says Sistani, are men and ladies, are they allowed to work together in like a working environment? Like for they work together in the company, let's say?
If there is no, for example, possibility of falling into the act of sin or haram and such like, then there's no objection. The problem is always when it comes to facing the haram and the act of arousing the lust and so forth. These acts in which can be seen when there's interaction between men and women in public. That's the problem we have. So we try to give the guidance that and the guidelines that yes, you can meet, but without any kind of contact in which makes temptation or the arousal of the lust and shahwa. Other than that, we all meet in the marketplace, even in the mosques we meet, even in Hajj, that the men and women next to each other, they do the tawaf and sa'i, and in Mina and in Arafat and so forth. But of course, the one who wants to basically look with the haram look or act upon the haram, then of course they are sinful individuals. But in overall, to protect the ones in terms of lowering their gaze and not looking at the haram, that's the priority.
I see.
So we can meet, yes, but with conditions.
I see. Shalom, we're going to go to a short break. Join us after the VT that we were going to play, inshallah. Join us after that. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
I have a question regarding keeping pictures of
Is it
scholars at
permissible to
home.
plant trees by or
Was
over
Islam
the graves?
established based on peace and
Is it permissible
non-violence?
to collect donations for charity projects from
Is it permitted to consume canned food imported from non-Muslim
Is there an
countries?
issue for men looking at non-Muslim women?
To have your questions answered live, call in on +44 2035 150199 or WhatsApp us on +44 7415 092155. Alternatively, you can also email us on Ahkam SOS at imamhussein.tv.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. Welcome back. Yes, this is a live show. We do take in your questions. If you have any questions that you'd like to send in, please send it via the WhatsApp, the email address. If you're watching live on YouTube or Facebook, put it in the comment section. And if you'd like, it would be really good to hear your voice. Call us on 0203 515 0199. We don't need to know your name. We don't need to know where you're asking from, any of these details. Your questions come in totally anonymous. Question on any topic, there's nothing too silly or too taboo or anything like that. Any question that you'd like to ask, please ask, and it is our duty, inshallah, to find your answers. Assalamu alaikum, Sheikhna.
Assalamu alaikum.
Sheikhna, when it comes to a limb or a piece of meat that's been cut off of a living animal or a living human being whose blood gushes out if they are slaughtered, is this piece of meat, is it tahir or is it najis?
Yes, basically, this piece which is cut off from a living animal or even a human being, yes, it remains najis and impure. In other words, you cannot consume it if it's animal, even a halal animal like a sheep or a camel. Let's say a live sheep, you take off the extra fat in that sheep to consume, you can't. It's a najis. Unless you slaughter that sheep or that lamb, and then you take the fat, extra fat, and then use it. This is how it becomes halal for the use.
Sheikh, a question from one of our viewers, and that is, if a drop of blood falls into food that is being cooked while it is boiling, what happens to the cooked food?
Well, the entire food becomes najis, impure, and even the pan in which this food was cooked in, and basically boiling or the heat or the fire would not purify this najis food. Yes, what you can do, if it's a solid food, let's say meat or chicken, you can take out and wash the meat and chicken and reuse it for cooking or eating, to wash it, to remove the najasa. But the stew, you can't do anything with it. You have to throw it away because it's all became now najis. Other than that, I mean, there's no way you can purify the liquid because it's liquid, and
Yes.
it's, the stew, you cannot basically purify it.
Shaykhna, according to His Eminence, the Grand Ayatollah Sheikh Wahid Khorasani, can our sisters, ladies, become mujtahida? In other words, be able to issue verdicts and extract the ahkam from its sources, yet follow on opinions, verdicts for herself?
Yes, His Eminence mentions that it is possible for a woman to become mujtahida and to follow her own opinions with this matter in the ahkam shari rulings, but people cannot follow her as a marja.
Okay.
And there's a basic discussion about why a woman cannot become a jurist or a marja, in other words, leading people in marja'iyya and to have followers in shari'i hukums, as well as to become a judge, for example. There are reasons for that. It's been given in the books of fiqh and other books of fiqh. But in overall, I've read or seen a report that there's a British judge, a female judge,
Yes.
in the UK. She has said that out of, 8 out of 10 or 7 out of 10 of hukum that she give rulings was based on emotions. Emotions
Yes.
and passion. So we have to see why Islam does not allow a woman to become a marja'a or to become a judge. That could be one of the reasons. So Allah Azza wa Jalla is wise
Indeed.
and knows what to place one in which place, in which location and position.
Shaykhna, if rain falls on a tahir textile sheet covering najis earth and water flows onto the surface of the earth, what happens to the textile and the floor?
Basically, when the rain falls on that textile sheet or rug or a carpet, and there's a running, basically rain, falling rain, continuous rain, it would purify the underneath floor of the earth, which is flowing of the water, and would not basically make that textile sheet or carpet najis, because there's a water or there's a falling rain, continuous rain on this place. So everything becomes tahir and clean.
Inshallah. Shaykhna, question from one of our viewers, and that is it permissible to say salam to followers of other religions, and what is the ruling for returning salam to them? The opinion of the late Ayatollah Sayyid Muhammad Shirazi rahmatullah alayh.
Yes, the Sayyid mentions that it is permissible to basically to say the greetings or to return that greeting, but you would say that to minimize to wa alaykum, for example, if they are not non-Muslims. Yes, you can say hi, hello, that's fine, no issue with it. But when it comes to salamun alaykum, you say wa alaykum. Yes, that's the difference. Of course, lots of encouragements in the narrations, even in the Quran, about saying salamun alaykum, in which we find that in some narrations that to spread the salam in the world, ifsha'u salam fil alam, is required, is something good and desirable. In a hadith from Imam As-Sadiq alayhi salam, he says, min al-tawadu' an tusallim ala man laqit. It's out of humbleness to say salam and to greet whoever you meet. You have this, that even Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam used to greet and say salam to the children. Imagine that, to this extent, that leader of Muslims would say salam to the children. So yes, it is something encouraged. And in another narration, we have that that saying salam, to initiate the salam, to start the salam, you would get 69 hasana. And the one who returns the salam would get only 1 hasana, 1 reward.
Yes.
So the one who always says the salam first would get the most.
Okay, inshallah. Shaykhna, if one has 2 children, whether they're twins or not, and there's money that's allocated to these children for their clothes and so forth and to feed them, are you allowed to let them share the clothes? If food was purchased for one of the siblings, can you give it to the other one, and vice versa?
Because each of them have their own account and you cannot actually give the portion for the first to the second, and it's not permissible. So you have to spend from their own accounts. That's the ruling, basically.
Okay. Shaykhna, the Sunnis say that the Quran is not created and the Mu'tazilas say it is. What is the Shia view? Now, I know His Eminence, the Grand Ayatollah Sayyid Hakim, he's had discussed this. What does he say?
Yes, the Sayyid mentions that the Holy Quran comprises of the words of Allah Azza wa Jal. And they came to be and not been exist before. So these words were not existed before. So basically, the words of Allah Azza wa Jal are created. The Quran is created. Cannot be old with Allah Azza wa Jal. You can't have two qadim, two old or eternally old things, beings. Allah is the only thing in which, or the being in which was and nothing was there. Kan Allah, wala shay kan ma'ahu. There was Allah Azza wa Jal, nothing was before with Him, nothing else. So you cannot say Quran is also old, qadim with Allah Azza wa Jal. So you have two old things with Allah. You have the Allah and the words of Allah. No, these are all created. In the hadith, in Kitab al-Kafi, the second volume, Kitab al-Tawheed, Imam al-Kadhim alayhi salam, he mentions this in a long hadith. He says, وَكُلُّ شَيْءٍ سِوَاهُ مَخْلُوقٌ. And whatever is there except Him, meaning Allah Azza wa Jal, is created. Everything other than Allah is created. Even the Quran, even the words, even Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, this was created by Allah Azza wa Jal.
Yes.
These are all creation of Allah Azza wa Jal. We have to understand the difference between the creation and the creator. You cannot have anything attached to the creator, otherwise it becomes creation.
Yes.
So, of course, the words of Allah Azza wa Jal were created as well. You know, the famous first surah, اقرأ باسم ربك الذي خلق. So Allah created these words and delivered it to by Jibreel to His messenger Muhammad sallallahu alaihi
wasallam. Excellent. Shaykhna, a question from one of our viewers, that is, what is the limitations for men looking at non-Muslim women?
Well, there is no objection for a man to look at the face and the hands of the woman, let's say the kitabi, with no lust, with no temptation, with no shahwa. That's basically the condition. But as a precaution, ihtiyat, not to look on to other parts of the body, let's say the hair. As a precaution, that one should not look. I know that it's difficult in this country, and such like with the Western countries, that you meet every day with non-Muslim women who are at work or school or in the shops. But you try to minimize the look and to restrict it to the face and the hands if it was without lust and temptation. Of course, Allah Azza wa Jal would reward the one who tries to lower his gaze, especially in summertime, especially in such places where ladies are exposing themselves, in terms of the reducing their clothing at the summertime. We have a hadith from Imam As-Sadiq alayhi salam. He says, whoever looks at a female then turns his gaze towards the sky or looks away, Allah will then marry him in paradise, in other words, to Hur al-Ain. So rewards are great and immense for the one who lowers his gaze, يغض بصره, and not look at the opposite gender and haram, of course. As I've said, the limit is to look at the face and the hands, but the bare arms, the bare chest, these are all haram to look at.
Shaykhna, a question from the YouTube, hope you don't mind. I promised Imam al-Zaman alayhi salam that I would not commit a grave sin. After a few months, I did it again, and now I cannot stop and I feel very extremely guilty. How do I ask for forgiveness? Shaykhna, I think the best way to actually phrase the question is, if you keep another and you keep a promise, and then unfortunately you break it, what does one do in that situation? Is there a kafara to pay or anything like that?
was this person asking for forgiveness in somehow? Because the question is different than what you have mentioned.
Ahsant, yeah,
Seems
it
to
is.
be
How
that-
do I ask for forgiveness?
Yeah, that's the thing. Basically, the repentance or the tawbah is not to return back to what you used to do, for example. The genuine repentance to stop the act. You know, like those who quit smoking.
Yes.
They make the decision and they quit. That's it. No more smoking. So this brother or sister needs to basically quit the acts of haram, make a very serious and genuine decision to stop this act. Sometimes they need to see the medical experts, psychiatric and so forth, if it's to do with depression, mental illness and so forth. So
Okay. Excellent. Another one from the YouTube. If I forget to recite tashahhud in the second rakat, what should I do?
what we have is the tashahhud al-mansi, the forgotten tashahhud.
Okay.
So when they finish the salah, straight away you do the tashahhud al-mansi, the forgotten tashahhud, while you're sitting in that position of salah. You just do the tashahhud and that's it. You've done the tashahhud.
Okay. Next question, Shaykhna. From one of our viewers, what is the ruling for a halal meat animal that does not have gushing blood, such as fish, if it dies naturally?
It is tahir in terms of the purity is tahir, but you cannot consume it. It's haram. Because one of the conditions of the eating the fish, you have to make sure that a human being caught this fish with any types of tools, with a net, by hand, and so forth. So that's the condition. So if you see a dead fish floating on the water, you can't touch it. You don't have to wash your hand. You know, it's tahir, but you cannot consume it.
Shaykhna, can I gift my obligatory and desirable prayers, fasting and charity to the living and deceased believers with the opinion of His Eminence the Grand Ayatollah Sayyid Sistani?
Yes, the Sayyid mentions that it is allowed, you know, to gift your a'mal, your mustahab, wajib a'mal, your prayers, your dua, your fastings in the holy month of Ramadan, to the one who is alive, like your parents, grandparents, or to those who have passed away from your loved ones. You can gift them these a'mal, and you will get, inshallah, the reward as well. So you won't lose anything, but you will get even rewards for this act, inshallah.
Shaykhna, quick, I think there's a comment here. My father passed away recently and I wanted to know about the things I can do which would act as sadaqah jariyah for him. Please enlighten me on this.
Sadaqah jariyah, of course, the one basically can pay sadaqah, as we said, when somebody passes away, one of the best things to do is to pay sadaqah on his behalf to a poor person, for example. If the one has a bit of wealth, they can, let's say, publish Islamic books about Ahlul Bayt, the life of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, Quran, tafsir, and so forth. The one can participate in establishing Imam Bargas, Hussainiyat, Islamic centers, mosques, serving the community in this regard. If one can also participate in building or supporting or fostering or allowing people to basically, paying people to foster or to adopt, let's say, orphans, pay them monthly, for example, to adopt or foster orphans, that would be great, for example. And if you can, whenever you have a'mal salihah, such as reading dua kumail, for example, send the thawab of this dua to your deceased one, to the marhum. When you go to the Hussainiyah or the Imam Barga or to the mosque, you offer prayer, you attend the azadari or the majlis, the noha, the mourning, whoever is there, make the intention of sending this majlis or this attendance of this place to the marhum as well. When you go to Karbala, inshallah, Najaf, Hajj, Umrah, make the intention of each ziyarah, each prayer there to their soul. And inshallah, they will, of course, gain the rewards as a result, inshallah.
Inshallah. Sheikh, another question from the WhatsApp. Because we're running out of time, I'll be quick with it. Basically, a brother woke up, wasn't really sure if he had to perform ghusl janaba or not for Fajr. He checked for the 3 conditions. One of the conditions wasn't there, so he didn't perform. He carried on and he performed his Fajr Salah. He's wanting to ask, was that the correct thing to do?
So what do you mean by checking 3 things?
Well, it says I went to freshen up and noticed there was some white marks on my underpants. Same as I see when Madi or likewise Tahir liquid. Still, I tried to confirm all the 3 conditions for ghusl to be obligatory, but one of the 3 conditions didn't seem to meet, and so I didn't perform the ghusl. So kindly guide me if I have done it correctly.
Well, there are signs for the janaba, the ejaculation, for example, or sometimes feeling joyful, for example, as a result of the janaba. So he needs to see if that feeling was associated with this ejaculation, then of course that's janaba. Otherwise, it's just normal liquids. There's no issue with it, and it's tahir.
No problem. Shaykhna, in regards to repentance and forgiveness, remember the brother or sister, I'm not sure, the person who asked that question has also asked again, yes, forgiveness and kafara. So for promising to not do a sin and then performing that sin, asking forgiveness, which you already mentioned, and then the kafara, if there is one to give.
Have they done the nadr, shar'i nadr, or is it just a...
I promised Imam Zaman alayhi salam that I would not commit a grave sin. After a few months, he or she performed the sin, and now I cannot stop and feel extremely guilty. How do I ask for forgiveness or kafara?
Because there's a kafara for breaking, let's say,
An oath.
the qasam, paying 10 paupers, 10 faqir, paying 10 faqir. So that's one of the kafarat.
Inshallah. Okay, and final question for this evening, Shaykhna. Why is there so much importance on Rosie, work in Islam, so many prayers? If we are spiritual beings that have great faith, should not life then be about living simple and having trust in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala take care of us? Or like Howard Hughes, the aviator, we are supposed to find something worth innovating, fighting for a cause. And we know that these things come with a lot of hardship, the Battle of Karbala being one example. Are we supposed to know our purpose, go through the hardship, to leave a legacy, to do the right thing, or have faith in the Almighty and lead a humble and simple life?
Basically, we are here in this world to take a test, and a major test in our life, because Allah Azza wa Jalla did not create us to force us to do something. We are given the free will to either choose heaven or, God forbid, hell. So it's all upon us to choose what is right and what is wrong. And with regards to the hardships of this dunya and difficulties, even the Anbiya, the prophets of Allah, the messengers of Allah, their vicegerents and awsiya had to go through this immense, difficulties and anxieties and calamities. So this dunya is not created for purely for happiness, comfort, rest, felicity, and joyfulness. Yes, there's partial, but not a complete happiness in this world. So the best way is for the one to work hard, implement their duties, perform their wajib acts, whatever Allah asks us to do, wajib, obligatory, refrain from the evil acts and haram acts, and of course respect people, give their rights, their huquq, live with peaceful harmony, akhlaq, ethics with others, Muslims, non-Muslims, live peacefully, and of course make use of the both worlds, as the Holy Quran states in Surah number 2, verse 201. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. وَمِنْهُمْ مَنْ يَقُولُ رَبَّنَا آتِنَا فِي الدُّنْيا حَسَنَةً وَفِي الْآخِرَةِ حَسَنَةً وَقِنَا عَذَابَ النَّارِ. And among them is he who says, our Lord, give us goodness in this world and goodness in the hereafter, and protect us from the torment of the fire. So enjoy this world the halal way, of course. Live, work, earn money, be rich, that's fine. Pay your wajib, dues and so forth. And also help others, the poor people and so forth. As well, work on the hereafter as well. So build your dunya to the amount that's required. Buy a house, whatever you want, need it, that's fine. But also work for the hereafter, your eternal fate and life in the hereafter. Have some account there as well, because that's your abode and your life will be there. So make sure that you have enough credits for the hereafter.
Inshallah. Inshallah, with your permission, there's more questions coming in from the YouTube. You're quite popular today. Straightforward ones. Do you need to change your undergarments if there's been madhi, and should you also do wudu? Okay, so from the pre-release of semen, not ejaculation but beforehand, if that is seen on undergarments and so forth, do you have to change them? Do you have to perform wudu?
These are tahir, there's no issue with it.
That's what I thought as well. Okay, Salaam, can we recite Surah Fatiha for our marhum on the food without performing ablution? Thanks. I think this is to do with the khatam. Okay, so like it's a tradition, especially in Pakistan, every Thursday they have like a sufra with food and so forth. I'm sure you've seen it also where people who have passed away, they'll put food out and they'll recite Surah Fatiha and so forth and other surahs and du'as and so forth. Can you do this without performing wudu, or should you perform wudu and do this?
No, you can recite without wudu, but it's better with wudu, of course.
And one more, good question, and I do believe you've covered this topic before, Sheikhna. Salaam, let's say I want to adopt a child, a male child, but I am a woman and that child becomes a man. What do I do? Will I have to wear hijab from him?
Definitely. This man who you've adopted before, he is basically a stranger.
Yes.
So you must wear hijab. Definitely.
Excellent.
Yes.
Excellent. And that is it, I think. Thank you very much, Sheikhna, for all your efforts and then all your hard work. And thank you. I know today we've had some questions that's put you on the spot from YouTube, but that we do invite all of our viewers to actually send in these questions. And this is what we're here for. We're here to answer all of your questions. If myself or the Sheikh, we don't know the answers, we will take time to research, go speak to those who we need to speak to. If it's in accordance to a particular marja you follow, we do take time to speak to the official offices and the official representatives to give you your answers. Please send in your questions via the WhatsApp, the email, online on YouTube and also on Facebook Live. And also, if you if you'd like to, we'd love to hear from you. Give us a call, 0203 515 0199. We'll be back on Monday, inshallah, myself and the Sheikh, here on Imam Hussein TV 3 at 6:30. Until then, stay safe, inshallah, have a good weekend. And if you're in London, enjoy the sunshine. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah wa barakatuh.
We question our daily position, seeking answers and definitions. Get the queries off your chest with Ahkam SOS.